Good evening, everyone. I'd like to call the June 7th meeting of the Dartmouth School Committee to order. I'd like to ask everyone to please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag
of the United States of America
and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you, everyone. Per Governor Baker's order suspending certain provisions of open meeting law, GLC 30A, Section 20, the public will not be allowed to physically access the school committee meeting. Members of the public can access the meeting via live stream at www.youtube.com/DHSTVmedia. In addition, the event will be rebroadcast on DCTV channels 9 and 18 on the following days: Wednesday and Thursday at 5 p.m., Friday at 6 a.m., Saturday at 8 a.m., and Sunday at 2 p.m. The school committee reserves the right to implement additional remote participation procedures and will notify the public of these procedures as soon as practicable. Ms. Genthner, can we have a roll call, please?
Shannon Jenkins.
Here.
Mary Waite.
Here.
Kathleen Amaral.
Here.
John Nunes.
Yep.
Chris Oliver.
Here.
Thank you, everyone. At the beginning of our agenda, we have time for public comment. Comments are welcome from the public. Please email your comments to Ms. Genthner, the recording secretary, at kathleengenthner, GENTHNER, at dartmouthschools.org. Ms. Genthner, do we have any public comments at this time?
We do not.
Okay. I will make a note to myself to come back around and ask you again at the end of the meeting. If anyone from the public would like to comment on any of the items that are on our agenda for this evening, they're welcome to do so during the meeting. The next item on our agenda is the student representative report. Would you like to go ahead and share updates with us?
Yes, thank you. So my name is Evan Garcia, and I am here to give the update on Dartmouth High School. As we wrap up the school year, much is happening here at Dartmouth High. The class of 2021 held its commencement exercises yesterday at Dartmouth Memorial Stadium. The 263 Dartmouth graduates are matriculating to some of the best colleges and universities in the country, entering the workforce, and enlisting in the armed forces. We are so proud of DHS's newest alumni who have faced challenges none of us could ever have imagined. Congratulations and best of luck to all of them. In addition to graduation, several other 21 for 21 events have taken place recently to honor the senior class. The senior picnic was held last week, as was scholarship and awards night, with 90 seniors taking home scholarships and awards. The class of 2021 also participated in the senior sunset at Round Hill on Saturday evening on the eve of their graduation. Testing season is wrapping up. Most AP exams have now been completed, while the freshman class takes biology MCAS later this week. Best of luck to them. Summer reading signups are now open, and students are encouraged to pick a book that interests them. There are over 50 books to choose from across many different authors, subjects, and genres. There truly is a book for everyone. Many of our sports teams are participating in spring tournaments this week and next week. Best of luck to all of our student athletes. The Dartmouth High School Theater Company is hard at work preparing for their spring show, We Will Rock You, with performances set for June 17th, 18th, and 19th. Tickets to stream the show are now available online. This is my last school committee meeting of the year, and I would like to take a moment and thank you all. I have enjoyed giving my updates, and I am so grateful to have had the opportunity to represent the student body here at school committee. I hope that you all have a great summer, and again, thank you for your time.
Thank you so much. We appreciate hearing from you and your updates. Would anyone like to say anything?
No,
Thank you
Evan.
very
Thank
much.
you very much.
Thank you.
Evan.
Thank you so
Great
much.
job. Summer.
Good
Have
luck
fun.
to you. Have a
Thank
great
you.
summer.
Be safe.
And of course, you can obviously exit now and
Thank you so much.
go do what you want. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
All right, so we're going to skip down to the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion to approve the regular session minutes from May 17th, 2021.
So moved. Second.
All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Mr. Nunes. Any discussion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? All right, so that motion carries unanimously. Next, I will entertain a motion to approve the executive session minutes of May 17th, 2021.
So moved, Madam Chair, with the stipulation that they be held until the matter for which they were intended is completed.
Do I have
I'll
a
second that.
Thank you. I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Mr. Oliver. Any discussion? The only thing I will say with respect, not just to these, is perhaps maybe it's time, I don't know how when we go back and look about releasing, but those stipulations that Mr. Nunes always gratefully adds for us, that it may be time to go back and look to see which other ones we can release.
Yeah.
So we might want to remember to
We
do
may have to
that.
put a whole meeting together just to release
No,
them.
but it just, you saying that, I just want to, it reminds me that we should periodically go back and do
Review
that and
those,
actually
review- yeah.
release those.
No, you're absolutely.
those-
you're good,
those
yeah.
minutes.
We've actually been talking about it, so
Yeah.
we're starting to compile them. So
Okay.
we'll have some, we figured this, I think we're gonna do a few of them next meeting.
Okay.
And then, this summer, we'll maybe take all summer to get through.
Yeah,
but-
summer is a good time
Oh,
to
yeah.
do that, right? Because
Yeah.
we know the rest of this year in particular has been very
Right.
busy. Any further questions or discussion on the motion?
Nope.
All right, hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Anyone opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, so next we're going to move on to the consent agenda. And Mr. Kiley, you're going to talk about the SMEC lease, yes?
Yes, Dr. Jenkins, thank you. So this SMEC lease includes a 3% increase in fee, but more importantly, it includes the addition of 2 classrooms at the Quinn School to support our special needs population. So I think Dr. Gifford mentioned that to the committee, that we were looking at that. And so this will provide those 2 spaces for them. And, you know, we have the space in the building. They were currently used for a classroom that had similar, similar needs being met. This will just allow SMEC to be able to better serve our student population. So these funds are paid by SMEC to us and can be used to purchase things for our facilities, maintain our facilities. So I'll be happy to receive them, and we'll help out the Quinn School with any needs that they might have with those funds. So.
Questions from the committee? Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would just ask, can we just talk a little bit about the program that this is replacing, the in-house program, whether it's the PALS or the PATHS program, and what's the reasoning behind that? Because I know that it's still fairly new. It's 3 or 4 years old, I want to say. So how did this come about?
Sure. Yeah, it is fairly new, and we were excited when we instituted the program. But what we found was that it was a challenge for us. The collaborative has certain ability to provide education for kids that we cannot in the
Sure.
public schools. And it is part of their core competency to provide service. They have a lot of resources available to them that we may not be used to providing. Our enrollment was down to 2
Yeah.
students. So that's a lot of staffing for 2 students.
What is the current staffing that we have in place there through the Dartmouth Public Schools?
We had, our teacher, of course,
Yep.
and then, 2 assistants.
2 assistants.
Assistants.
Now,
But
what's
as you
gonna-
know, it also requires, this will relieve our speech, our OTs, it's all of the folks
all the
that.
related services.
And we all talked about it when we brought the program in, we saw our teachers come forth, and we're, hesitant, and everyone was anxious about it. And like
Sure.
Ms. Kiley said, we gave it a shot, but seeing the enrollment go down, and actually the potential for one of the 2 students in there, through the team process, which has been taking place with the parents,
Yep.
well, there was a potential for that student to go somewhere else as already, so we
Okay.
just decided it was the best course of action for the
Sure,
district.
so I have 2 more follow-up
Yep.
questions. One being that the staff that are currently in there, are we keeping them on payroll here, or are we looking, or is SMEC looking to maybe hire them?
They are being absorbed within the school.
We
Yep,
are
yep,
able
we're
to
keeping
absorb them within the
Yep.
school? Okay.
Yep.
And then the other thing that I think it's important to note is that by us leasing this classroom to SMEC, there is that ability for us to, or for other students to go to that program as well, not just Dartmouth students, correct?
Exactly.
That's right.
Exactly,
So I think that's
Yeah.
great. So thank you very much.
yeah.
I'm in favor of that.
Other questions?
I
Ms.
don't really have
Amaral.
a question. I just think, thank you for answering my questions. I wasn't quite sure when we got the email. I was like, is this because of COVID and maybe children are regressing? And then Dr. Gifford was very clear about how we have, we have some, to clarify, this is one, I'm assuming this is one PATHS classroom and then a PALS classroom, correct?
This is just,
I'm sorry. This is just the PATHS.
just paths.
Okay, so, thank you, sorry, clarify myself.
Yeah.
But I think this is great in terms of just that continuity and then also the continuum, because we weren't right now,
Yeah.
the way it was, able to keep those students and then provide at higher levels the same sort of
Right.
supports and services. So this will allow them to be within
Better
that SNEC
served
program and then have some continuity.
And not to, we just want to commend the staff that has been working in that room. They have done a fabulous job, trying really hard to meet the needs of those students. But like Mr. Kiley said, there were just some things that a collaborative can do differently, as you know, than we can. And we just, we started having the conversation last year, and then it just really came to, we said, we've got to make that decision. And I think this is a better
Yeah,
course of
I'm glad
action.
we did.
Yeah, yeah.
That's all.
Other questions?
No.
Ms. White?
No, thank you.
Okay, so do we need a motion to approve? I will entertain said motion to approve this agreement.
I'll make a motion that we approve the lease request for this Southeast Massachusetts Educational Collaborative for FY '22.
I'll second.
Okay, so I have a motion by Mr. Oliver, a second by Ms. Amaral. Is there any further discussion on the motion? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Any abstentions?
Madam Chair, as the treasurer of SMEC, I will abstain.
Okay, so that motion carries with 4 in favor and 1 abstention. Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Next, moving on to new business, I'm going to again turn it over to you, Mr. Kiley, for some end-of-year authorizations.
Thank you, Dr. Jenkins. So each year, at this time, I seek your approval to transfer funds in order to make year-end adjustments from one budget area to another. So we don't do that during the year without, seeking your approval. Now, this year, as you can imagine, has been particularly challenging, and there's areas like field trips where obviously we weren't going on field trips. There's quite a bit in the budget that didn't happen as expected, some to the positive, some to the negative. We were fortunate that we had the grant funds, or we would not, this would have been a whole different year for everyone, but financially. But we're at the point now where we want to focus on specific needs that are tied to our strategic plan. So things like textbooks, classroom materials, technology materials, to make sure that we're supporting the schools in the best way. And we do that by collaborating with each of the schools and departments and making sure that, we have a plan. It's strategic in the way that we do it. And so we're at that point and seeking your approval to be able to move forward.
Thank you. Questions from the committee? Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kiley, I would just ask, is it possible that you could, in the next, maybe before the next meeting, just share with the committee where we're at budgeting-wise, whether some type of surplus or, and where we're at, just overall? I don't personally need anything specific, just kind of like, where we're at, our bottom lines.
Certainly, yeah. I can give you a little bit of an idea now that, there's significant areas in the budget, like I said, like field trips, particularly transportation, where we were remote for a period and then, rolling kids in gradually, where there are savings in the budget. And it's not the normal year where I, spend everything down to the penny because we're that tight. It's a different sort of year where there are some significant savings in some accounts.
Sure.
So,
Yeah, so
But yeah, I'd be happy to
that'd just be
provide that.
helpful for us to see.
sure.
Other questions, comments? I have one of the comments that Mr. Kiley had, and I'm not going to ask you to answer this, but I hope we can come back to it, is the question of textbooks. I say this because I just returned my son's U.S. GOPO textbook. I teach U.S. government and politics, and it is old. And that is not so much of a problem when you're, say, teaching math. It's a bigger problem when you're teaching about campaigns and elections, and the most recent election referenced was 2008. But I also wonder, as someone who teaches in this area, our strategy around textbooks, and particularly technology, digital textbooks, OER textbooks have become really big for us. And so I'm wondering if maybe sometime this summer, we can have a conversation about what we're doing around textbooks. It is a very significant expenditure for us. It is also an area where I know that we have struggled as a district to keep up with our textbook needs. I've always gone into open house, and there is at least one classroom where I am like, how can the poor teachers continue to be using these textbooks? So I would just like to maybe get a presentation sometime this summer, maybe, about what our strategy is about textbooks. Because I know, again, historically, I'm looking at Mr. Nunes. Mr. Nunes has been around we had some textbook wars, I think, about whether or not they were capital expenditures or not.
Yeah, no, I mean, one of the things is that they've always been a regular line item in the budget.
Right.
By department
Right.
and that type of deal. I mean, and I laugh when you're sitting here talking about 2008 with an election, and I remember years ago, and that having a discussion, there was a discussion, and I don't remember what it was, but it was something that, again, it was, 10 or 15 years before, and that was the textbook we were using. But
Right.
also, too, in retrospect of it, back then, funds were a lot tighter.
Right.
That type
Yeah.
of deal, the bottom had fallen out of everything. So there were some things that, as I always said, do I buy a box of pencils for a student or a mop for the custodian? Well, you know what, Mr. or Mrs. Custodian, lean on the mop a little heavier,
Right.
a little harder. I gotta buy the box of pencils.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so that would be great. I mean, that's not to say we don't want to authorize that, but I would like for us to come back around to that issue, because it is a significant expense
yeah.
For us.
Yeah, and one of the things too, and I mean, I'll say it now, is Mr. Kiley is once, you get everything all closed out at the end of the year, if you can just give us a report as to, the dollar amounts that were transferred between
Yep.
Sure.
between
Yep.
categories, not so much line items, but the
Yeah.
categories as you.
Yeah,
as
that
you do.
won't be for next meeting.
No, that.
That can be
Again,
later.
I totally realize that's August or September when things are closed
Mm-hmm.
out. I'm good with that.
Yeah.
Because
Okay.
you're still closing stuff out into July, so I'm good.
Yep.
But, when it's all done, all said and done.
Okay, so any other comments? So I will entertain a motion to transfer line item budget transfer authority to Mr. Kiley.
Yeah, Madam Chair, I'll make the motion that we authorize the Assistant Superintendent of Budget and Finance to make the necessary budget transfers for school year 2021 according to policy DBJ.
Thank you, Mr. Nunes. Do I have a second? Second. All right, so I have a motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Ms. Waite. Is there any further discussion on the issue? Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? That motion carries unanimously. Okay, so next I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Gifford for the superintendent's evaluation presentation.
Thank you. So, this will be a mid-cycle. I think we got thrown off with the COVID and everything else. So, this will be a mid-cycle evaluation, if you will. And if you recall, this will be, I thought after tonight, you won't have to fill out the documents if you recall the mid-cycle, but you can have a conversation probably at the next meeting, and that's what we've done in the past. So, let's see. I think you will kind of understand the no ordinary time reference, and Dr. Jenkins, of course, will, being a history and government person, will get that, but I thought that was appropriate. If you recall, if you will note that I did provide you with all of these documents. I'm hoping you were able to access them because everything's clickable and
Yep.
it made it nice and easy for you. So I'll just kind of reference this sheet before I go over just some highlights of what I want to highlight this year. This grid is clickable for, I referenced the agendas over the last 2 years. You can click on those, you know what they are, but just to bring forth the idea that all of our work we do here, and you know it, so you see what we've done. And then under the standard 1 and 2, we put the goals there because although we touch upon the other standards as well, they kind of really very appropriate to standards 1 and 2. So that's there. And again, as a review, just to making sure you have everything in that drive I shared with you, the 3 goals, professional practice goal, student learning goal, and the district improvement goal, all also have examples of documents that are all clickable. Just, again, samples of things that will show the work in those areas. And then, of course, the highlighted summary narrative, which is kind of what I'm going to go over right now. So before I get into it, I just wanted to bring forth the idea of the leadership that it took and the collaboration that it took throughout the last, let's say, year and a half, because we really referenced that in this summary grid as well as the 3 goals. And looking at different things with leadership, you think about all of these things that everyone in this business had to go through to, to make sure that we were able to bring forth the team, continue to enhance collaboration, keeping the community on board, being prepared, you know, with all the plans we had to make, etc. So obviously I'm not going to read this, but we thought that this would be important to mention. And I think the last one, just remaining true to the cause, that as we continued, and I mentioned it yesterday actually at graduation, the decisions that had to be made, but always thinking, how can we best serve the kids, as well as keeping our staff safe. So some of our focus areas for the year, as you can see, you know them once again, but I just wanted to make sure people were aware. Health and safety obviously became the first focus area that we had to deal with as we didn't know what was happening. As the guidance began to come out, as we first closed, then were we opening, were we not opening, and then how do we prepare our buildings and prepare our buildings for everyone to come back, as well as provide enough PPE, et cetera, for our staff. Being prepared with COVID responses, what does the guidance say? How do we collaborate with the Director of Public Health, our nursing department, et cetera? Mental health support, we've all spoken about that throughout the year. That was very important to us. And how do we make sure that folks felt safe and supported as they came back into schools? Effective communication, of course, weekly updates, both from central office as well as the principals, newsletters sent out, the Facebook page, et cetera. And of course, one of the major things was to maintain relationships, and that was important as we continued to make sure teachers had connections to kids, make sure we had enough technology that folks could access what was happening in the schools, et cetera. And as we know, our tech department was fabulous to enhance that technology access, and Mr. Galashaw is tired of receiving accolades over there. The professional development that had to happen, I cannot thank, once again, our ITS folks enough just to get us started, and when teachers threw their hands up, and so many, it was so new to everyone. And again, preparedness, how do we make those shifts, not only when we immediately close, what does that look like, but then how are we prepared to shift between models of education and really accommodate so many needs, so many diverse needs with the virtual academies, with Edgenuity, and then flipping in and out of those, and how do we adjust kids' grades or adjust the standards that they needed to continue to learn about, et cetera. So, so I'm just going to go through quickly each. I broke it down to what were the actions taken under. It's hard to break down these standards, as you all know. Everything intertwines. You do one thing in one, and it overlaps in the other. But try to put things into a little box, I guess. Oh, excuse me, I'm getting a dry throat. So under instructional leadership, as I said, if you recall, immediately we set up the extended learning site, and that just continued to evolve as we remained closed and tried to provide activities for students and provide information and resources on the various areas, such as special needs, such as the L students, and all of that. So that continued to take shape. We would get input from teachers, et cetera. If you might recall, towards the end of that, we created an activities and action tab. That was to be able to showcase some of the some of the work that the students were doing. And of course, we had to do the return to school plan, and that took so much time to, we immediately planned for a full return, but that was impossible under the guidance. So as you know, we had the other two plans ready to go, and we have switched between all of them. Obviously, the three basic models of education for virtual, and we all know about those. But I would say like the elementary virtual academy, that took, think about it, I mean, hiring, training new teachers, making sure we had a space for them, creating a big classroom for them, working with parents, not only through the tech department, but also the teachers themselves, as well as we gave a stipend for some folks to be like the coordinator of it, to answer parents' questions and keep them engaged. The Edgenuity, of course, the high school did a great job with that, and then Tecker at the middle school after the bumpy start. The work that the guidance department, as well as the teachers that set up various schedules, various tutoring opportunities, etc. So we all know about our increased capacity with technology, and as I said, that also speaks to the professional development that had to take place to make sure our teachers were prepared. Just the simple thing, we might think it's simple, so many folks thought it was simple, of having them, for example, have the computer there, teaching a class, but also knowing that, so for them to bounce back and forth, and then who was on the screen and who wasn't. So it was a lot for our teachers to do as they were learning how to use the various technology tools. And then the shifting of we call the pedagogy, because again, they used to sitting here with 25 or so students in front of them. We immediately started with Zoom, if you recall, switched over because of various things. We wanted to make sure that what we were using was education, supportive of education, and all of that. So the Google Classroom and the Google Meet. We had teachers videotaping lessons to fill in where we didn't have enough staff, etc. They were just fabulous. Of course, as I said before, the continuation with all of these things, we had to switch schedules for students to get their related services, whether it was remote or not, etc. And then, of course, continuing to meet students' needs by continuing to implement some of those programs that many districts did not. For example, the athletic, music, and various clubs. Of course, management and operations, I don't think we have to talk too much about that, but I'll go over these a little quick. Just, again, the technology, that was just so crucial and important, and the maintenance of it, continuing to secure enough of it. With remote, it could be very easy to become disengaged with folks, so continue those meetings with the various departments, special ed department with Beth and Ms. Townsend and Ms. Jodwin, etc. Continuing to reach out for substitutes, make sure they were ready to go, and also the use of our TAs when teachers were out, so they were prepared at the various schools to take over the classrooms as people might have been out on COVID leave, the management of those leaves, and keeping records of that, documenting all of that, and of course maintaining our practices, furnishing, PPE, all of that, outdoor resources as time got closer and closer to the end of this school year, the collaboration with public health. We were on, as you know, meetings weekly with that department, as well as our nurses. Our admin would come into those meetings, and of course on the phone and other meetings as things arose. Obviously, our nursing staff is to be thanked as well. We had to do some schedule adjustments, and as you know, we added an extra nurse for the year as well to help with that. Some grants that we secured to help with all of the costs, plus the ones that we were given, kind of, thankfully. Use of those COVID funds, the strategic use of COVID funds, not only throughout the last year, but as we're looking forward to our budget of what kind of staff can we bring in with those ESSER 3 monies, et cetera. And of course, just keeping, I think I made my last DESE hotline call today, I hope, with 2 students. It's ending on the 16th, so I made one today. I'm hoping that's it. And of course, the transportation and implementation, which was a bear in the beginning as we were bringing in cohorts of students. A, B, which cohort were they in, where were they getting dropped off, et cetera, et cetera. So family and community, I think, again, everything overlaps. Not only the meetings with, as I put here, with various school districts across the state, as well as Department of Ed, to be able to provide families with updates on what was happening. Those communications, as I said before, via the principals as well as central office, as well as our Facebook and email blasts, et cetera. And we do have it right today, Today I said 5,000 meals. It's over 500,000 meals. So that community engagement, which will continue this summer. And I can't say enough about the families and the schools with, again, the virtual team meetings that now started, which is now a good thing. We think we can keep families more engaged by doing that, et cetera. And the tech department that continue to reach out personally, delivering things even to their houses. And last but not least, on the 4 standards, once again, the repeats of some of the things, but the frequent meetings, showing folks that they were supported. The special ed, this is just an example, special ed staff, lead teachers, speech program, we've been meeting with them as well. Ensuring that teachers had the very updated tools, technology to support. We can't ask them to do what we ask them to do without making sure, as professionals, that they were provided with the appropriate tools. And the focus on the social emotional, same kind of thing, diversity and inclusion, that ongoing professional development support to support everything that we were doing. The pedagogy, even you think about the shifts in grading, like at the high school, or how it came about where it's okay to have kids take longer or be able to relearn things, if you will. And how did we shift the grading, and how did we shift the assessments, more project-based, et cetera. We had the creation of the DPS Professional Development Center, and I know one of the other things that isn't even here is the elementary newsletter that was created, the curriculum newsletter that engaged all of the teachers in that work, et cetera. And of course, as you know, the multiple negotiation sessions on that professional level with DEA. So that's kind of the highlights. As I said, you have much more detail in the documents that you received. You can take a peek at your leisure. The green on the summary grid was more started with like last year. As we moved into this year, we put the red because we thought, again, the closure and what we've done this whole year was really part of everything that's been going on. And that's it in a nutshell. There's so much more. When you start putting these things together, you just can't even think about everything that you've done, so. That's it.
Questions, comments from the committee? Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Thank you, Dr. Gifford, for this. To say it's been an interesting year, 15 months would be a total understatement. I think we all go back to that Friday in March of 2020 when, everybody shut everything down. It was going to be for a couple of weeks, and then it ended up to April 26th or something of that nature, and then it was the end of the, it was the end of the school year and that, and I remember being part of the negotiating team with everything that was going on and such. And then you get into the summertime and, DESE, no disrespect, became, with all due respect, became totally wish-washy.
Yes.
They wanted one thing today, and tomorrow they changed it to the point with the 3 drafts that they wanted, how you were going to do it, and they wanted, August 10th type of deal, and they never even looked at them. The pressure and the work that our administration here and everyone across the Commonwealth, across the country, did is exemplary, and I thank you for all of that. I mean, I think we've all learned a lot this year. I know I have, and I appreciate everything that administration, top down, to to the custodians, to the cafeteria
Right.
workers, to the security guards, and everybody else did just to, and the students to get through this year and make it one for the record books.
Right.
Maybe, but also, they got through it and, as was exemplified yesterday. So, thank you.
Other comments, questions? Mr. Oliver?
I'll just lead by saying thank you for the presentation, Dr. Gifford. And yeah, there's so much, I'm sure that you could fill up 100 slides, and there
Right.
still would be more areas that you didn't cover. But I will just take this opportunity, since this is our last meeting before school gets out officially,
right.
because I think our next one's the 28th. Just to thank, I could go on and on and on about accolades and thanks, but very simply, thank you. Thank your staff. Thank the building administrators, teachers, all the support staff in the buildings, custodial, secretarial.
Right.
None of this would be possible, what we accomplished as a district this year without collaboration and teamwork.
Right.
At the end of the day, that's what it comes down to. You needed to lean on each other in order for this to work. You needed to support each other in order for this to work. Because if one person didn't follow through, it would affect a lot of different other areas.
Right.
So I'll just simply leave it at, very simple, thank you, and thank all the staff and faculty
Yep.
in the Dartmouth Public
No,
Schools.
You're absolutely right. We had to lean on each other.
And to lean on each other. I'll just say, we will be circling back next week after
Yep.
we have some time to digest all of this and the
Yeah,
presentation.
there's a lot there.
There is. So, thank you very much,
You're welcome.
Dr. Gifford.
Ms. Amaral or Ms. Waite?
Yeah, no, they really said a lot, but it's so true. I think, would we have thought we could have gotten through this had somebody said, this is going to happen next year, right?
Right.
No way. And we did. And I really take pride. I appreciate, central office, Dr. Gifford, Mr. Kiley, and everyone, all the way down, like John said. Sitting at some of this stuff and hearing about it on a statewide level, I'm really proud of what we've done. It hasn't been without hiccups, and we certainly we would grow each
Right.
time we were able to. We would keep growing and doing better, but we've done really well as a
I believe
district.
it, yes.
We're really fortunate that although people aren't able to hear what they need to hear,
Yeah.
right? We're just human. We take in things, bits and pieces, and we might not hear something the first time it's spoken, but we're really lucky as a committee to get all of this information in a transparent way, and it just shines through with your charts of all of the activity. And although we've received all of this all the way through, you put it here so clearly for us to kind
Yeah.
of dive in and remember when.
Remember,
Yeah.
exactly.
So I appreciate that. We really are lucky. I don't know that everyone really can appreciate that sitting at home and all of that, but and to have the voices on this committee to speak, our minds and be able to sort of ask questions when we need to. I'm just really proud to be a part of this committee and this district. So thank you.
Welcome.
I think I have to just, echo, certainly what my colleagues have said. I mean, I think, I came into the middle of this, and what a time to come in. And I think, again, like the impression, if we, again, looking at, the charts and everything that you provided us with, we didn't know. There was so
Right.
much that, again, when we're considering how we're going to plan out August, we didn't know what December would look like. We didn't know what, I mean, and again, we didn't know when we would have vaccines. So, I think, this is a testament to people who, really said, okay, I'm going to work in the moment with the information I have, and I think that was so important for everyone to understand. I mean, we did listen to science. We did, have guidance, from the Board of Health. We did listen to CDC, and we were working with DESE, and we were making, the best calls we could for our kids. And we kept our staff safe, and we kept our kids safe. So I think we have a lot. And again, I think the leadership and the choices that were there, I was really proud when I talked to other districts who said, I know my, friends, they were a week in, 2 weeks out, and I thought, really the choice that we made for the type of hybrid that we came up with as a district, I really think it was the best service for our students. And I'm so grateful that they're, back now. And
Me too.
I think just sitting yesterday, I felt like, I think in some years, maybe graduation is another very important check mark, but yesterday felt really
Yeah.
significant and special. I think, there was the community of kids coming together, they felt, the meaning of this and how much, so it was a beautiful event. And again, it was testimony to all that you guys have done. So thank you.
Echo my colleague's comments. I have to laugh. Ms. Amaral said, "Can you imagine if we had known this in March?"
Right?
Thank goodness we didn't know this last March, because I think everyone would have quit if you had told us this is what the next 15 months are going to look like. We all would have
Came
said,
close.
"No, thank you."
So
right? So maybe it was good we only learned a little bit at a time, because that's all we could manage. But I will agree. It's been a very difficult year for everyone. For parents, for kids,
Everybody.
for teachers, for administrators, for all of our staff. But I think we've done the best we could. And, I do see some of my friends around the country whose kids have not been in person at all this year, or
Yeah.
who are still getting half days of school. They've been getting half days of school all year. I we're proud of what we've been able to do. So I thank you for your leadership on that. We will come back to this next week. This is mid-cycle, so we don't need to do the charts, but remind me, I'm drawing a blank, I don't know why. I tried to forget all the evaluation.
I know.
It's like, it's so painful having to do this. No offense.
We went to
It's so
2 a year,
confusing.
remember?
I know,
That's
right?
good.
That it's almost like childbirth. You forget what happens right after it's done.
Whoa,
You do it again, right? You're like, wait, what happened? Oh, that again. Okay. So I have no recollection of what we produced for the mid-year. It's just a letter.
I think it changed as well.
Yeah, you
correct?
didn't
I
produce
think it-
anything. You
I
really
think it's
didn't.
basically, it's this information, and then a motion by, approval by us of this report,
Yeah.
Okay.
which, Dr. Gifford is then able to, at the July meeting, take those minutes that are approved and attach them to this paperwork so that she has it in her records. I
Yeah.
would think.
That's pretty
fine.
much,
That's-
yeah.
that's-
And
that's
then
my
next time
recollection.
you have to do all those nasty documents.
That is the actual evaluation.
Yeah,
That's the actual eval with
Okay.
the PowerPoint and.
exactly.
Okay. So that's fine. We'll come back to this. Everyone can look. We can ask more questions.
Yeah.
We'll put that on the
Yeah.
agenda for the next meeting.
Yep.
It might make sense. The last time we did training on evaluation was, I know before Ms. Waite came
Yeah.
here.
Oh,
It
yeah.
was a
Yeah.
long time ago. Do we want to maybe try to schedule something like that, a refresher course?
I would appreciate it just
Like
because,
early
again,
next
this
year or
is.
something.
Early next fall.
Yeah, that's
Yeah, I
fine.
think that makes
Mhm.
sense.
Yeah, that
That's
was.
fine. Because Ms.
Well-
Amaral and I went to a session, if you recall.
I know.
It had to
I
be
think
2 years
everything's
ago,
pre-COVID. Wow.
And they
she's-
updated some things.
Everyone
ago now.
forgets
Way
all of this
pre-COVID.
evaluation stuff, yeah.
I don't think we had anything formal in-house by MASC for quite a while.
I don't
It's been quite a-
remember.
I'm thinking like
On evaluation.
January.
Right.
On
I'm
evaluation.
thinking
Yes.
January of 16, we had a meeting with MASC January of 16, and then,
Mr. Nunes doesn't have any of the same
before,
amnesia as the rest
before
of
that,
us.
not Dr., Anna Riley we had a meeting one night after a snowstorm, I remember that, so.
We did have a training though after that, because when Dr. Gifford
Yeah.
first got here, because I
Yes.
was not around
Yeah.
for that,
Yeah.
so
It
that was
with
the last
Dorothy
time.
Presser, maybe.
I don't know, but it's
I
been a
remember
while, so I
something.
think we could do
It was
with a
at Bush Street in
refresher.
the
Yeah,
conference
it's at
room.
Bush Street.
Yeah.
We could do with a refresher
We've
from
done a couple of-
MASC
yeah.
in the fall, in advance of
That's
our
fine. We'll get
official
that set up.
I
evaluation.
appreciate that.
Okay, and then
Okay.
we will, we'll put this on the agenda. Ms.
Yep.
Gunther, can we make sure
Wrap
there's an
it up.
agenda for next, and we'll,
Okay.
we can wrap
Yeah,
this
because
up.
I think we've even numerous times made the comment that, no disrespect to the superintendent or Mr. Kiley, they're not exemplary, because at that point, it's like they're walking on, no disrespect, they're
Right.
walking on water and they can't improve, that type of deal. So
Right.
things of that nature is
Right.
how this
Yep.
thing works out.
Yep. Okay.
I'm good.
So that's fine. We'll come back around to that next
Yep.
week after everyone has had a chance to look at that further. We're gonna come back to the recognition at our next meeting.
Yep.
We had a
Glitch.
so we'll fix
Okay.
that for our next meeting, just so you know. So that brings us to the superintendent's update, and while we're at that, why don't we have another matter
Yep.
also that we hadn't anticipated that we'd like to take up as well. So why don't we
Right.
do both those now?
Okay, other than wrapping up this school year, a couple of things. The middle school promotion, as you know, is the 15th and 16th. I think you know that. That will also be on the field. The Junior National Honor Society is at the middle school on the 9th. The 9th, yeah, today's the 9th, yes, 6 o'clock. And I think we reported that Cushman, they have been receiving, they were Feinstein Leadership School, they were named for their kindness and all of those actions they're taking. And I think we announced that they got the $5,000, well, they just got another $2,000.
Nice.
So Justine's
Okay.
just going crazy with all of these wonderful things.
Fantastic.
Yeah. We are planning, we've asked for teacher mentor, people that want to be mentors to come forward. We do need some more, so that mentor our new teachers, and that will be taking place in June. Our mentor, kind of back to normal, doing things that feel normal again. And I did provide you asked for so far what we have for any resignations or retirements, so you have that. And we are in the process, of course, we've been posting, and many of our principals have been interviewing folks and shuffling teachers within the building. So I think we're in pretty good shape with the candidates that we've been getting, and continue to move along with that. And with that, I will leave it to Mr. Kiley for the volleyball and fitness, as he, like I said, did speak to AD Crisafulli.
Thank you, Dr. Gifford. So, yeah, we were very excited. Mr. Crisafulli had identified that there was a need on the South Coast for a volleyball camp. So New Bedford has actually run a very successful volleyball camp, and they're not doing it. We don't know for how long, but they're definitely not doing it this year, and so where better to run a volleyball camp than here, given, our success with volleyball in recent years. And so Rachel Lassie has put together a plan for a volleyball camp here at Dartmouth High School in the gym. And I think we provided you with the document with all of the information. It will be limited capacity. It'll be August 16th to the 20th. There'll obviously be some health precautions in place, although much of the COVID guidance has been lifted for summer camps. This will be indoors, so, there will be precautions in place for sure. And, it's expected to be in high demand, from what we understand. So we're hopeful that you will grant us approval. The cost is $175 per player, and it's a comprehensive, competitive, high-end camp for grades 9 through 12 students. So.
Questions? Mr. Oliver?
Thank you, Madam Chair. Yes, Mr. Kiley, I think this is great. I know that my daughter, who plays volleyball, she was extremely disappointed to hear that the Whalers volleyball camp, it used to be, I don't know if it's still run by Coach Macedo over there, but it was not running this summer. So the fact that as soon as she heard, I guess it was circulating around that Coach Lassie was looking to put together a program, I think this will sell out rather quickly, based on the, just the desire and the amount of South Coast volleyball girl players. So I think this is great.
Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Quick question is, as I look at the registration form, and maybe it's just me, but is there someplace on here that we should have a notation as to whether or not the student has been vaccinated for COVID, just in case, God forbid, we have a problem? We know what we're up against?
I'll make a note of that, Mr. Nunes, and we can.
I just thought, I apologize, but I just thought of that as we were talking, so.
I know they were talking about having a screening,
Yeah.
process each day as well, but no, it's a good point.
Should have let you know ahead of time, I apologize.
No, no problem at all.
That's actually a good point, Mr. Nunes. Where are the public school systems at with, you know, I know there's been some guidance back and forth and pushback about whether or not some colleges and universities, but as far as in Massachusetts, I haven't heard anything about whether or not they're allowing it, or they're not going to allow schools to get that information about whether or not students have been vaccinated.
No, we don't have, there's been no guidance on
No
that,
guidance
no.
at all?
No.
Okay. Thank you.
Mr. Nunes, another
Yeah,
question?
and again, I'm just reading this, I've read it God knows how many times, and then you look at it and something sticks out. Down on the bottom, the last, where it says application procedures, it just says make checks payable to, and there's nothing there.
Oh, maybe it was supposed to be a
That's important.
two-sided, but that's funny.
That
Maybe-
is important.
Yeah, we
Yes.
need.
Yeah, that,
Thank
you know, I mean, and, you know, like, they can make them payable to me, I'm good. No, I'm good.
Thank you.
Other questions or comments?
That sounds great.
Make a motion to approve the request for Dig Green Volleyball at Dartmouth High School from April 16th, my fault, August 16th to August 20th.
Second.
A motion by Mr. Nunes, a second by Mr. Oliver. Is there any further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
That's great.
Opposed? Right, that motion carries unanimously. Do we need to next talk about the strength and conditioning?
Yep.
Yes,
Can I just
please.
interrupt, just, when will this go out, just to the community? Is it?
Very
just-
soon.
Okay.
We need a quick
Vacations.
turnaround
Yeah.
here.
I'm just thinking
so-
that there are probably some
Yeah.
families who want to try to
Right.
get in.
There's already a wait list. No, I'm teasing.
I know.
Yeah, probably.
There will be.
So there's also a proposal that you had in your packet for a summer strength and conditioning program. So that would run from June 28th through August 19th, 3 times a week of training, 2 to 2.5 hours in the mornings and in the evenings. There would be professional certified strength coaches who would be running this. We would need the assistance of a outside entity to run this program, and so that, you know, have the ability to actually serve the needs of all the kids. So we would be contracting with Infinite Fitness to do that. Mr. Christofouli familiar with them and has had discussions with them about the operation of the program. It would be $120 per student, and it would be, like I said, spread out throughout the summer and offer an opportunity for students to really improve their fitness and maintain it throughout.
Questions? Ms. Waite?
So, Mr. Colley, is this simply for Dartmouth students from Dartmouth High School or Dartmouth?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
And I would assume it also, to follow up, it doesn't say on here, this is, again, high school age
Right,
students?
all right, that's
It
what I was
is.
wondering too.
Okay.
School-age students, yes.
Okay.
And I'm sorry, and a follow-up question is, would students be expected to be present for the entire program, or is it something that they could kind of jump in, you know, how would that work?
I believe the recognition would be that families would have plans over the summer, and there would
Okay.
be, vacations and different things,
So
but,
this would be-
it is a long-term planning
Right.
process for the kids, so the hope is that they'll participate
And-
throughout the summer, but, being understanding that they can miss time when they need to.
That's great. Thank you.
Ms. Amaro, do you have any questions? Mr. Nunes?
Yeah, thank you, Madam Chair. Mr. Kiley, is this going to be here at the high school?
Yes,
All right. Now, is this, did they run something of this nature in the football stadium last summer?
they did.
That's
They
what that-
did.
okay.
Yeah, it was a
Okay.
little different,
I mean,
but
again,
yes,
because of
yeah. We tried to get some, opportunities for kids to be active last summer too as well. But I think this format is more of a longer-term plan for these
Yeah.
students than what we did last summer.
And again, I'm assuming there's some type of health forms and permission forms that have to be filled
Yeah,
out. and-
this is
and
just
so-
a basic outline
Yeah.
of the, what the key points of
yeah,
the
to have the
program
COVID
are.
vaccine on
There's
it would be
yeah.
good. Thank you. I'm good, Madam Chair.
Mr. Oliver?
Thank you. So last summer, Mr. Colley, was it done in-house, or was it also done by this Infinite Fitness?
Last time we did do it in-house, and we used our own coaches primarily, and other staff members to, to do it.
I'm just curious as to the reasoning behind going outsourcing.
Yeah,
it.
we really wanted to focus on professional strength coaches. That we found that was an area of need, and
Okay.
In-house we don't have that capacity. So, these folks are trained in nutrition and fitness for these kids. So it's
So
more
that was the
specific.
primary reason
Yeah,
behind
it's
it.
more specific.
Okay.
Whereas we had a variety of different social distanced activities last summer. This is more focused just towards their personal fitness.
No, I think it's great. Thank you
plans.
very much.
That's great.
That's all I have.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
So moved.
All right, so I have a motion for Ms.
Second.
Waite to approve the summer strength and conditioning program. Is that a second for Ms. Amaral? Is there any further discussion?
That's great.
Hearing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries unanimously. All right, so I do not really have a report. Nothing to add. Does anyone else have anything to report? Updates? Mr. Nunes?
No, just a couple. I know Evan talked about it a little bit, but just congratulations to the students that graduated yesterday, and also the middle school graduation that's coming up, next Tuesday and Wednesday night. Everybody, please have a safe summer, and be careful out there, as they always say. And, our spring sports are getting into the tournaments. The tournament season runs it's a little bit later this year, just because of the way the seasons are running, type of deal. So we, wish them good luck. That's all I have.
Thank you. Ms. Genther, do we receive any public comments during the meeting?
We have not.
Thank you. Anyone else? All right, so our next meeting is now scheduled for June 28th. Push that out a week due to some scheduling conflicts. So we'll be meeting at 5 p.m. on the 28th. We'll be meeting here, yes. It is still not clear to us whether that meeting will be open to the public or not. The governor's executive orders expire on the 15th, but he has asked for an extension of some aspects of it, but we don't know which aspects he has asked. So
Exactly.
per normal pandemic operating procedure, we have no idea until probably a day or two before. So we will let the public know when we post the agenda, whether or not they will be
Yeah.
able to attend the meeting.
Rumor mill had it, he was going to extend it to September.
Yeah.
That's what I had
I
heard.
had heard
Yeah,
that too.
I've heard some rumors too. I don't
I
know.
know. Who's
you-
on first?
Yeah, I mean, we'll continue to meet
We'll do what we
here.
do.
The public can continue to provide comment to Ms. Genther, and we'll just keep doing what we do until we hear otherwise. All right, so, with that being said, I will entertain a motion to adjourn into executive session to conduct a level 3 grievance hearing filed by the Dartmouth Educators Association and to hear updates about pending litigation, not to adjourn into open session.
Not to return to open session. I'll make that motion.
All right, I have a motion by Mr. Nunes. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Ms. Waite. Roll call, please, Ms. Genther. Yes.
Mary Waite,
Yes.
Kathleen Amaral,
Yes.
John Nunes,
Yeah.
Chris Oliver.
Yes.
Thank you, everybody.
Thank you.
Heading over to guidance.